Social media, not surprisingly, is like a huge component to kind of any type of body image.
You see hundreds, maybe even thousands of faces and bodies that are really unrealistic on any given day.
My name is Kyle Ganson. My research and my academic career focuses on understanding eating disorders, body image, muscle dysmorphia, substance use behaviors, particularly among young people and young boys and men.
My name is Victoria Gracie. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Toronto, and I'm with a laboratory at the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health, as well as Temerty Faculty of Medicine, where we study body image disorders such as body dysmorphic disorder. I'm also a fashion model, and I write a lot about my experience with body dysmorphic disorder.
I don't exactly like how I have my face positioned in this one here. I feel like my chin looks a little bit off at the side. It's kind of funky.
In order to be diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder, muscle dysmorphia, you'd have to be diagnosed by like a general practitioner or a medical doctor or psychiatrist. In Ontario, those would be the main people who would provide that diagnosis. We've started to sort of look at muscle dysmorphia, in particular males who use social media at higher levels, so are on there more time during the day, for example, have greater symptoms of muscle dysmorphia. A lot of young people are looking at exercise videos or actually using social media as a mechanism to understand and learn how to gain muscle and what type of exercises to use and what type of dietary practices to use. So it's actually a huge information source for a lot of young males as they're trying to increase their muscle mass. The difference between body dysmorphia and muscle dysmorphia is very little, actually. If someone has a diagnosis of body dysmorphia, they might be specified to have muscle dysmorphia because their preoccupation is around muscularity versus a different type of preoccupation like one's hair or one's facial features or other parts of their body that they might have some obsessive kind of compulsive thoughts around.
I was told that I was too big to be a ballet dancer. Now, interestingly enough, I was also told that everything was wrong with my body aside from my waist. And in spite of that, my primary concern was my waist. I feel like my waist kind of looks bigger at the side, particularly my lower waist. Sometimes bugs me a bit.
In order to help people who have body dysmorphic disorder or muscle dysmorphia or any type of condition, certainly I always recommend this idea of respectful curiosity. Joining with them in the process, really aligning with them and trying to understand what's going on for them in their minds, how they're feeling about themselves.
I try not to go too much into it.
And so much of body dysmorphic disorder, muscle dysmorphia is so much related to one's body. And so there's a lot of, I think, shame around that. There's a lot of stigma around how bodies are presented, a lot of expectations around, from society about how bodies should look. And so I think people often feel very shamed about, the preoccupation they might have about certain flaws.
Yeah.
Does this cause shame in you?
Little bit. So when I was around 13 years old, and I was told I was too big to be a ballet dancer, and I would say I started thinking about my body through being in the ballet industry. It wasn't before then that I really thought much about my body. I was a kid, I was living life, but by being in an industry that's very artistic, that's very dependent on having a certain look, and that look being put upon very young women, and parents with the best intentions putting their kids in that thinking this is a great activity, but in reality behind closed doors, there's this pressure that occurs that many people don't know about. And for me, that was the start of it, right? So that's not to say that everybody in ballet or in, say, an industry that has these ideals is going to face BDD specifically. Negative body image, that's quite likely, but not necessarily BDD.
So muscle dysmorphia falls underneath body dysmorphic disorder, and there's lots of debate kind of in the field about whether it should be classified as a sort of specifier of body dysmorphic disorder, which, to get technical, falls underneath the obsessive compulsive disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual.
The DSM is a diagnostic manual that people like clinicians, psychiatrists, psychologists use when diagnosing people. It gives a list of all the symptoms, and it's supposed to really outline every psychiatric disorder that we know of.
People with muscle dysmorphia often see themselves as much smaller than you or I might see them. We might see them as like, wow, that person is quite large or quite strong or quite cut or lean, but they see themselves in the mirror as being insufficiently muscular.
So body image ideals have existed long before we have even existed. Before us, there was Venus figurines, which are basically stone-cut figures that Neanderthals sometimes would actually make, as well as early humans. And they were meant to represent a female figure, and it was a very full-formed woman. And she was considered the ideal of that time.
When we're looking at, say, advertising, so more similar to, say, social media, the rise of the ideal woman really came in with the Gibson girls, and that was around the late 1800s. They were corseted, they had these tiny, tiny waists, they had perfect skin, glowing complexion, curled hair up in these pompadours, looking perfect, pristine, always playing sports too. They loved golf and tennis, and they would have several children on top of living this amazing lifestyle. And that really became the model. And from there, we used, say, models. It's really when brands try to create an image next to impossible for people to attain, and that's to encourage the consumer to buy into their products, hoping that they'll look like that ideal, which is really impossible to look like. And it puts people in this endless loop of trying to obtain that ideal look.
With muscle dysmorphia, we kind of idealize a muscular body, especially for males. Like, that is the male muscular ideal. It represents a strong masculine man. It's seen in the gym and a lot of our spaces as like very powerful and very important. That differentiation of when is it problematic and when is it not is really murky. Like, is that person abusing steroids? Well, okay, that could be dangerous. But if they're working out 5 or 6 days a week, they're changing their eating habits, they are really obsessed with wanting to get more muscular, they're still going to school and participating in social activities, is that problematic? I don't know. I think teasing out that piece is really hard, and I think we're still trying to do that.
Social media has really wired us to think that, we put a lot of value into the like count, the comment count, what people are saying about us out there. And, it's a trap with social media in general for people with BDD and for people without BDD. And it really gets us thinking about our supposed self-worth in the context of our physical appearance many times when it comes to those selfies and those photos. And I can't tell you what the impacts of that are. I don't know. Nobody knows.
There's a definite need for more understanding and treatment of body dysmorphic disorder, muscle dysmorphia. Unfortunately, there's not a plethora of clinicians that are experts in this field or know how to treat it in an effective way. And so that is a kind of also additional barrier that I think we have to understand and kind of get over. And that also just kind of emphasizes the need for just a supportive environment for that person, from family, from partners, from friends, and their social environment.